evening, everyone. I'm Burnett, and out front tonight we have breaking news. We've got new details coming in the investigation into the murder of Ambassador Chris Stevens and 3 other Americans. The Libyan Prime Minister tells CNN's Arwa Damon that the evidence suggests the attack last Tuesday on the American consulate in Benghazi was pre-planned. That is crucial. The Libyan Prime Minister also tells CNN that 8 people detained were involved in carrying out the attack, that some are far extreme members of Libya's largest Islamic brigade, it's called Ansar al-Sharia, and that no members have a known affiliation specifically to al-Qaeda. Now, they also say to Arwa that 30 to 50 people were attacked the consulate. They were clearly organized but didn't belong to one specific group. Now, the Libyan government has said this was pre-planned. But, interesting, that has not been the message out of Washington. This was the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Susan Rice, on September 17th.
The best information and the best assessment we have today is that, in fact, this was not a pre-planned, premeditated attack.
Not pre-planned or premeditated. White House spokesman Jay Carney reiterated that position yesterday.
And based on the information that we had at the time and have to this day, we do not have evidence that it was premeditated.
But today, Carney, for the first time, called it a terrorist attack and changed his wording, saying, and I quote him, "We have no information at this point to suggest that this is a significantly pre-planned attack." And a U.S. official who did not want to be named tells CNN today, "We certainly acknowledge contradictory information about whether there was a protest prior to the attack." And there are questions about whether the U.S. missed very important warning signs. Arwa Damon on the ground, you have heard her on this show, has reported that according to Libyan military officials, 3 days before the attacks took place, the Libyan military officials had a meeting with senior employees from the American embassy in Tripoli. And at that meeting, they warned them about a rising threat against Western interests in Benghazi. Libyan military officials say they specifically said the Libyan government could not control the militias, and they advised the Americans decrease their presence in Benghazi. They said they told the senior embassy officials that the situation is frightening, it scares us, and that at that meeting, the United States senior embassy officials declined to ask for additional security at the Benghazi consulate. Now, State Department officials tell CNN's Elise Labott that a recommendation to close that post was actually never passed up the chain of command at the State Department. Out front tonight, Senator Bob Corker. He is a Republican on the Foreign Relations Committee. He was briefed on the attacks by administration officials today, including Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and the Director of Intelligence, James Clapper. I spoke with him just a couple of moments before the show began, and I asked him about that briefing.
I will just tell you the briefing today was an absolute non-event. It was almost a 1-hour filibuster. There was no new information. As a matter of fact, what you just carried on CNN regarding the interview with the Prime Minister there is information that certainly was not shared during this briefing. And I can tell you it was really people on both sides of the aisle, I think, left there feeling like they had not learned one thing additionally about what happened. So I think all of us just want to get to the bottom of this. You know, we're all concerned, and again, today was basically a 1-hour filibuster, and I do hope that at some time soon we'll have a real detailed report about what has happened there, but today none has come forth.
Why were they, to use your word, filibustering? I mean, is it that they didn't know the answer? They didn't want to tell the answer? I mean, I'm a little confused, right? I mean, it seems like we've gotten, at least here at CNN, for a week now, a pretty clear answer that the Libyans said that they gave warnings, at least to U.S. embassy officials on the ground, about a very, very dangerous security situation. And they've been saying consistently that this was premeditated.
Yeah. So I have no idea. I mean, I guess on one hand, the administration felt like they needed to come forth today because they had been asked to. On the other hand, I can assure you there was not one one new piece of information gleaned from this. It was just continually stated that these things are under review, and until we are able to get to the bottom of this, we really don't have additional information to share. So it's very disappointing, and I think, again, all Americans want to understand, was there actionable intelligence? Did we know in advance? I think that people now probably realize this was not something in Benghazi that just spontaneously happened.
Well, I'm curious about what you think, the reporting that we have, that there was this meeting, and that at the meeting Americans were explicitly told, according to the Libyan sources, that, quote, the situation is frightening, it scares us, and the Americans were advised to decrease their presence in Benghazi. Americans didn't ask for more security, and now, according to the State Department, at least what we've been told, is that whole meeting never went up the chain of command. I mean, that's pretty frightening that there's that lack of coordination or information sharing going on, isn't it? I mean, is that something that you fear happened there and is happening elsewhere?
Well, certainly I can't verify what you've just relayed, but if in fact that happens, certainly that's very concerning.
And Sarah, let me ask you a question on this issue of premeditation and get your sense of it. I mean, I know you're frustrated by that briefing that you received today, but why is it that the Libyan government says this was premeditated, and we hear Susan Rice, we hear Jay Carney saying that from their information it was not? What do you think would explain that, or why what the U.S. government is saying is so different?
Well, I saw the Susan Rice interview, and I listened to her very strongly talk about the fact that it wasn't premeditated. I have a hard time believing that. And I would hope this would not be the case, but it leads you to believe that they really want to make sure that no one finds them culpable in this. In other words, not really doing the things that they need to do to protect, our personnel on the ground.
And when you talk about the safety and the culpability for when it doesn't exist, I just wanted to play something that Secretary Clinton said as she was getting ready to brief you today about American safety overseas. Here she is.
Okay.
We are concerned first and foremost with our own people and facilities, but we are concerned about the internal security in these countries.
Now, when she said that, Senator, I was thinking about a conversation I had with John Huntsman, former Republican candidate for president, ambassador to China. He said he thinks that U.S. consulates, there are many around the world who do not have the level of security that Americans think that they do, and that they're not as safe as they should be. What are you going to do about it?
Well, I think that's where this investigation and just them coming forth with everything that happened in real time would be very helpful to us. But look, I think there are things. I will say there was a portion of our briefing where there was discussion about what we are doing around the world to try to beef up our security. And while obviously I don't want to go into the details of that, I do think that what's occurred is you've seen a tremendous upping of security and the ability to respond quickly.
So you
to
felt that had been addressed immediately, strongly by the United States?
Well, I know I don't know all the details, and I don't think any of us do at this point as to what that actually is. We had a very general summary in about 6 minutes, and certainly don't want to lay out what that summary was, but obviously they were trying to project forth that they are addressing many of the concerns that exist regarding what you just said, and certainly all of us hope that's the case.